Assalamualaikum to Madam Intan. Today, my group will be presenting about using industrialized building system, which is IBS, to construct houses of a conventional method in Malaysia. Firstly, we're going to introduce ourselves. My group consists of 4 members, which is me, SYAFITRI, ZIKRY, HAKIMI, and AKMAL. Next slide. Today, next. Today, we're going to present about introduction, the state of problem, significance of study, purpose of method of the research, literature review, and last but not least, conclusion. Without further ado, let's get started. Next slide. So first of all, we all will be talking about IBS, which is industrialized building system. What does it mean with IBS? Next. IBS is a term used in Malaysia for a technique of construction whereby components are manufactured in controlled environment, either at site or off-site, placed and assembled into construction work. The backstory of IBS in Malaysia began in early 1960s when Ministry of Housing and Local Government of Malaysia visited several European countries and evaluate their housing development program. Next slide. This is the example of using IBS construction in Malaysia. Next. The next point is statement of the problem. For your information, the normal construction workers use concrete instead of IBS, which can occur some error while doing the job, which is worker could add improper amount of water to concrete mix, inadequate consolidation, and improper curing, which can cause distress and deterioration of concrete. There is a specific word for the deterioration of concrete, which is disintegration. Disintegration can affect concrete into small fragments and individual aggregates. Next slide. Features are example of disintegration to concrete. This integration can be a result of many causes, such as freezing and thawing, chemical attack, and poor construction practices. Next slide.
Okay, now I will explain about significance of study. Okay, this research is conducted to benefit the following. For safety officer, this study may give more knowledge about the advantages and disadvantages of different types of scaffolding so that it may help to prevent hazard from occurring on the site for future. Second is students. This study will also serve as a guide and reference for students to know what is scaffolding. This paper will serve as a reference for them in completing their assignment on the same topic, especially for students who studied in civil engineering. Okay, the last is for future researchers. This research will be useful reference for the researchers who would plan to make any related study precisely on the standard underlying in certificate of scaffolding and diploma in civil engineering. Next, I will pass to Hakimi.
All right, thank you, HAZIQ. And now I'm gonna present about purpose and method of the research. Okay, purpose of research. First is to identify cause issue in the factor of slow adoption of industrialized building system (IBS) in Malaysia. And second one is to identify low standardization of IBS component is the factor of slow adoption of industrialized building system IBS in Malaysia. And the third one is to identify lack of knowledge of IBS is the factor of slow adoption of IBS in Malaysia. And the last one is to identify negative perception to IBS is the factor of slow adoption of IBS in Malaysia. Next. Okay. And now is a method of research. First is literature review. Literature review was conducted to determine an overall idea of industrialized building system. The data and information will be collected from book, journals, dissertation, and information from internet. This material will be used as a background study to understand about the topic. By having all the information, it will show the critical path and lead to the research purpose. Okay, for the second one is questionnaire survey method. This used for data collection for the IBS, and the questionnaire will be distributed to the construction players such as developer, consultant, and contractor. The respondent will be asked about their knowledge on IBS, the preference of promotion and marketing of IBS in Malaysia in the future, and why they are choosing or not choosing to use IBS. The last one is interview was conducted to understand the market need and to understand more about IBS. The target of interview will be CIDB officer, developer, consultant, and also contractor. Okay, next is literature review for IBS. First is cost issue incentives for IBS are not sufficient. Giving out incentive is one of the way to attract more IBS user. As you can see, the purple color of the sentence is the main point for this literature review, which is the government through CIDB has introduced a section of the construction levy of total cost of the project according to Article 520 as an incentive on contractor that use IBS at least 50% IBS component in construction of new residential project since 1 January 2007. Even though there is only a slight increase in the number of IBS users. This can say that the incentive for IBS are not sufficient. IBS adoption requires more pull and push factor from the government itself. Changing from conventional method to IBS was not possible due to the small profit margin unless more attractive incentive system and benefit which can attract the conventional user to IBS. Okay, next. Next is high initial investment capital. Many small contractors are reluctant to adopt IBS system and prefer to continue using the conventional method of construction. This is due to the fact that small contractors lack of financial backup and are not being able to set up their own manufacturing plant as it requires huge investment capital. In this case, financial issue became the main obstacle for small contractors to move forward with the IBS system. In the perspective of component manufacturer, IBS construction require high initial investment capital for them to purchase new machinery, mold, important forging technology, and wages of skilled operator for installation process. Alright, and next is advantage and disadvantage of industrialized building system. As you can see, the red sentence is advantage, and the next one you will see the blue one as a disadvantage of IBS. Okay, first, by using IBS, the manufacturer can provide quality controller and product through the controller prefabrication process. The IBS requires simple on-site installation. Besides, it can provide faster completion of construction. This is because IBS using the standardized prefabricated component. Another advantage of IBS is it will create a neater, cleaner, and safer construction site. There will be reduction on the cross-section debris, site worker, and material involved on the construction site when using prefabricated component. For a long time period, IBS will be cost-saving construction method, which it will save a lot of money from the company. Okay. The formwork that are made by steel and aluminium allow for repetitive use, and this lead to considerable cost saving. Besides, IBS also have a flexibility of design. It can provide some additional aesthetic value to the project design and at the same time provide higher quality and better finish. Okay, next is IBS also have its disadvantage, which is this is the blue sentence is the disadvantage, like I said earlier. The initial cost of IBS is usually high. The initial cost is for supporting machinery and factory. The prefabrication system relies greatly on sophisticated machineries, which have to be well controlled and maintained by a skilled operator. Problem of joint is one of the major problems in the building construction using IBS, which lead to water leakage. Producing IBS component require a large working area for setting up factory machinery and storage to store the component. IBS may also cause delay because of supply, delay and shortage of raw material. Delay may also happen due to lack of expertise. And next I will be given to AKMAL.
Okay, I will like to talk about conclusion. A newly discovered obstacle is the traditional thinking of buyers who prefer built-in homes, bricks, and mortar. There were other perceptions and misconceptions about one of the precast panels where the buyer state that it is an element of housing construction with lower quality as it is done periodically for the construction of low-cost housing project in Malaysia. Therefore, the parties involved in the construction industry must take the initiative in producing alternative construction to compete and remain relevant in the construction industry. Lack of experience and technical knowledge of the contractor regarding IBS causes costs to be higher due to failure to manage costs. Lack of appropriate technology and management, relate experience, quality, productivity, and even safety issues make local contractors unable to compete with their counterparts in other countries who generally use and implement IBS. So this is important for all competitors in the construction industry. So prepare and start taking initiative in maximizing the potential of their proposed construction methods. Okay, this is our reference that we use in our research. Okay, that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you,
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Madam.